You're here with the Three Money Amigos. We are having a good time preliminarily discussing the Inflation Reduction Act and if that made sense to talk about today. So we were talking about it, and so we're going to dive into just some information. This is going to be a quick one. So we're going to save the introductions and how to get in touch with everybody to the end.
Okay.
Now, Attorney Winstead, let's talk about this Inflation Reduction Act. What about this is important for people to know?
Well, before we even, I think, started, Joy and I were talking about new leadership taking over at IRS, right? So the former commissioner, Chuck Reddick, has basically retired. He did 4 years, and he had a lot to deal with in that 4 year time period, dealing with the pandemic, all the new tax
He did.
legislation. So I certainly would understand why he would be tired and ready to retire, even if they wanted him to stay on another 4 years, right? But I think the most important thing with this new leadership in the tax community, we're like, who in the world is now going to lead IRS, right? And we were just talking about who the person is. And Joy, what is his name again? Who was nominated?
And he used to actually work for IRS for a short time, and he came from the O and budget as well. So he is well versed in taxes, and he's supposed to be a really familiar with, and they really like. So I think that's going to be important. I guess I'm still kind of unclear because he's going to have to shepherd this new administration that they got. And maybe Brent too, I'm not sure. Could Congress, because it looks like the Senate is going to be run by Democrats and the House possibly, they overturn the legislation that has already passed too? Because I've heard some talk about the Republicans wanting to recall the money that the IRS was given, like they're going to be just targeting people with audits. So is that even a possibility? Can they do that if they wanted to? Legislative perspective, I don't want to throw a monkey wrench, but it crossed my mind.
The question is, can they target people in general? But
no, can they target the funding that has already been passed, the legislation that has already been passed, and take the money back from the IRS? Or would they have? They probably would have to pass new legislation.
Yeah, they would have to pass new legislation. And Joy, I don't know, maybe something wrong with my end because I feel like you're breaking up.
You're breaking up a little bit.
You're breaking up. So I know we were talking about. So they would have to pass new legislation. Everything that's in this Inflation Reduction Act, it's already been basically enacted, and where it's being appropriated also, I think, was a part of that legislation, which is one of the reasons why the new person who's now being nominated, his background is important because he has a background really in managing large budgets. And under the Inflation Reduction Act, IRS got $80 billion, right? They got $80 billion that has to be used for certain areas. A large part of those areas are enforcement, which is one of the things that I do and am dealing with right now. I was just telling Brent and Joy that I have a client right now who has a wage levy that I am trying my hardest to get released. So I'm hoping that we can get that released so that he can get paid. IRS, you'll see, I think in the coming months and years, a lot of enforcement activity, whether they're going to be levying your bank account.
You know what? Talking about the levy situation, my question to you is: can the IRS take 100% of a person's pay?
They're supposed to leave at least an exemption amount. So in this case, I'm looking at the pay stub
for those people who aren't attorneys listening to this.
So IRS has these charts, and depending on the number of people in your household, and your income level, you are allowed, in the state that you live in, you are allowed a certain amount that by law you out of your paycheck that you should be able to keep. So the exemption amount may be $500, maybe $600, maybe $700, depending on what jurisdiction, what state you live in, right? In this case, I'm looking at the pay stub. He is getting 0 for the last 3 months. No, sorry. Before he came to me, let me just say this, not he recently came to me, I would say probably like 2 weeks ago. And so he's gone through one pay cycle. And so now I'm trying to get it released before the next pay cycle so that he can pay some of his bills. And even IRS criteria, when you go to the Internal Revenue Manual, it says that if a levy is creating an economic hardship, then the levy also should be released. And that's one of the things that I'm saying. Look, this is creating economic hardship. He has no other verifiable source of income at this point in time. But it's not enough to say that. You also have to provide financial data to show that it is creating a hardship, which is one of the things that I've been working on for the last week, providing IRS with financial information showing that, hey, this is creating a hardship. You from time to time, you get really aggressive revenue officers, and this is a really, really aggressive revenue officer, and his position is he is not releasing this levy. So in these instances, I got to use alternative methods, maybe going to his manager or going to his manager's manager, or requesting a CAP hearing, which is an emergency hearing, in order to get it done. So those are some of the things that I'm working on right now.
For the client, none of this gets his money back any faster, and still all of this, as Bev is working for the process, and I know she's working hard for him, but at the same time, I'm sure he's not feeling good. He's probably stressed, money to put gas in his car. This is a major ordeal. So really, you don't want to get to this point. If possible, you always want to try to come to someone like Beverly at an earlier stage so that you don't find yourself in these circumstances. Because a levy is hard to
earlier stage is.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say at the moment the revenue officer first contacts you, that's a problem, because they normally want information, and if you fail to meet those deadlines, or you just kind of haphazardly provide the information, then they're going to get really aggressive. And so,
so when people they get the thought, I'm just going to bury my head in the sand, hopefully it'll go away. You're saying that's not a good strategy?
Oh, no, that's not a good strategy. And I tell people all the time, they need to, at the very least, file your tax returns. Because that's one of the things also that held this process up, is that he had unfiled tax returns. And because of that, before he came to me, he was working to try to get the returns filed and prepared. And so that even delayed his process with the revenue officer.
But like she said, the first step was you got a letter, then you got another letter. Their letters, they'll send you they'll paper you to death. And then you start to get letters, certified mail. They kind of, this is a gradual process. It's not just, oh, you owe us money, go straight to a levy. This is probably, how long would you say from the time someone gets the first notice to the levy stage, Bev? What is that on average?
It's about it's about 150 days. You're right, because IRS has to send us a CP 501. That's the first one. A CP 503 in another 40 days. A CP 504 in another 40 days. Then they'll send a final notice of intent to levy, right? Which actually gives you another 30 days. And then you could actually extend it by filing a CDP hearing, which is a collection and due process appeals hearing. Yeah. So you're looking at 150 days before IRS actually says to you, you know what? I'm tired of talking to you. It's like your grandmother. Sit yourself down, and then that's when they get that little, go out there and give me that switch. That was like the hardest thing with your grandmother, or your mom or your dad. Go find the switch.
Before we go down the switch line, we're getting up against the deadline, and we want to. And you actually, if anybody's getting into this now, and you didn't hear Attorney Winstead just break down the process, this is the one you want to share. This is the one you want to listen to. That soundbite alone can probably help a lot of people have an understanding of what's coming. If you received the letter and then you receive some certified mail, and then go back to Through Money Amigos, listen to this podcast and extract that information. Now, this is the part that's tricky. Don't use it yourself. call Attorney Winstead and then present the information to her so she can actually work out a professional strategy to help in that situation. And with that, let's go around the room. Attorney Winstead, how can someone get in contact with you?
Sure. You can reach me at www.irshelpattorneys.com or 301-306-1234.
All right, enjoy. How can they get in
And
contact
I am
with you?
Joyce. I'm Joyce Sistrunk of Premier Group. You can reach me at www.pgs-cpa.com or give us a call at 301-577-6444 or even email us at accounting@pgs-cpa.com.
All right, someone just said, how do you share this replay? You can go to 3 Money Amigos in about 2 days, and this podcast will be listed there. Or you can hit the share button. I may have to do something on my end. Normally it works. I'm not sure why I wouldn't. But if you hit the share button or tag somebody you want to hear this in the comments below, and once they're tagged, they will be able to listen to this podcast. So either way, tagging someone's the most immediate way. And then you can go to 3moneyamigos.com and check the podcast at a later date. So with that being said, my name is Brent Simpson, co-founder of Investing Education Academy, along with Leon Noble. And if you are interested, there's no share button. All right, we'll work on that. And if you're interested in learning how to make your money work for you, we will absolutely help you with that and teach you how to invest in crypto, stocks, real estate, and we are moving into land as well. We look forward to talking to you all. And that's it for us. We'll see you next week, 2:00. Have a good day.